Hi, how's it going today? I hope everyone's doing well. I'm going to start my speech off today with a question. How many of you have ever gambled before, whether online or in a casino? Probably not many of you would be raising your hands right now. But what if I asked how many of you have ever bought in a microtransaction or a loot box inside of a video game? A lot more of you would probably be raising your hands right now. If you don't know, a microtransaction is an in-game virtual prize that you buy for real money. So these have actually taken over modern gaming in the past few years. Video games like Fortnite and FIFA are being heavily marketed towards kids, and they're encouraging them to spend as much money as they possibly can. For the very first time, video games are being created with the sole purpose in mind of sucking up as much money as they possibly can from consumers, beyond the initial price of the game. But what if I told you that this is actually priming children to start gambling at younger and younger ages? Today I'll be showing you how these loot boxes are nothing more than slot machines for kids. Okay, so before we can start comparing slot machines and loot boxes, we're going to define each of them first. So a loot box is a virtual prize box which you spend real money for and could contain any one of virtual prizes, but nothing is guaranteed. They're usually marketed towards kids, and they often have deals in place where the more money you spend, then the more you'll be saving. For example, in Fortnite, they have an in-game currency called V-Bucks in place, and the way it works is you could spend like $1.99 and you'll get 200 V-Bucks to spend in their online store. And so as the more money you spend to buy these V-Bucks, the more they'll actually give you. So where it usually equivalates for $1 for every 100 V-Bucks. They'll actually put deals in place. So say I do $20, where I'd usually get 2,000 V-Bucks. Instead, I'd be getting about 2,400 V-Bucks. And this actually gives children the idea that the more money they spend, the more they'll actually be saving. And in addition to this, they usually have a large lot of items, mostly things people don't usually care much about, with few rare items in the loot pool, and this makes children especially want to buy them over and over and over again to try and get these rare items. Okay, so now that we understand what a loot box is, let's talk about a slot machine. What is a slot machine? How are they similar? Well, a slot machine is a coin-operated gambling machine where you insert coins into a slot and then you pull a lever, and then three dials in it will spin, and depending on the alignment, it'll give you a cash prize. And so loot boxes actually operate in the same exact way. You give them money, and then you'll be randomly assigned a prize. It's totally luck. There's nothing you can do to change the outcome. The only real difference is that these loot boxes will not give you money. Like, you can't get money back from a loot box. You can only get like an in-game virtual item. Okay, so now that we see that slot machines and loot boxes are the same, but so what? Well, the video games that heavily feature these loot boxes, they're being heavily marketed towards kids. And not only this, but almost all video games nowadays are being created with the purpose of selling these loot boxes. And some games are even created with the sole purpose of selling these loot boxes, with nothing beyond that. Two of the most popular games in the world right now, FIFA and Fortnite, are being created with the target audience of children, and then these games are being created to be highly addictive and to push these loot boxes with gameplay advancements and other game mechanics that are actually locked behind these loot boxes. And this makes players want to buy them in order to get an edge on the people they play with. And so according to Adolescents and Loot Boxes, Links with Problems Gambling and Motivations for Purchase, this was a study done by 2019 by David Zendel. 21.9% of participants reported buying loot boxes to increase their in-game competitiveness. But so what? What does this mean? Well, it's being proven that these video games are becoming a gateway into gambling. Never before have humans had been susceptible to gambling at such young ages before, and it's having unprecedented effects on the mind. An article from 2019 called "Young Gamers Are Being Primed for Gambling" warns former addict and this is written by Rachel Williams, and it contains an interview with a former gambling addict, actually, and his name is David Bradford, and he gives some really insightful information. He says that gambling and gaming have always been neighbors divided by a brick wall, but now there's a gateway into it. Um, yeah, but how does gambling at young ages actually affect your brain chemistry? Well, an article from 2019 called Charity Warns That Betting Features in Video Games Harm Young People, and this is written by Rob Davies, excuse me. And he says that researchers state that 2 in 5 young gamers have bought these loot boxes, which means about 40% of players are actually buying these loot boxes in the video games. And so not only this, but they're actually at risk to be gambling as they get older too. A study from 2019 researching effects of loot boxes on children. It's called Adolescence and Loot Boxes: Links with Problems, Gambling, and Motivations for Purchase by David Zendel. He actually found that older adolescents who spend money on loot boxes displayed more than twice as high measurements of problems gambling than those who did not. Okay, so as you can see, these loot boxes are having unprecedented effects on children. They're being heavily marketed towards kids, and they are putting things in play where they could buy them over and over and over again without actually getting the items that they want. Um, they're having crazy negative effects on young people's brains. As they're getting older, they're wanting to gamble more too. And not only are children becoming gambling addicts, but it's literally changing their brain chemistry. So yeah, anyway, I want to thank you guys so much for listening to my speech today. I hope you all have a fantastic day. Take care.